My sister, ashamed of our middle-class family, made me sit at the server's table during her engagement party. But her rich fiancé discovered the truth when he visited my classroom, and now her life is falling apart. I, a 25 female, never expected to be writing this kind of post, but I need to get this off my chest. My sister, Clara, 30, female, has always been obsessed with status and money, while I chose to become a teacher at our local elementary school. Growing up, we were a normal middle-class family. Mom was a librarian. Dad taught high school math, and we lived in a modest 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. Clara was the star student and head cheerleader and always dreamed bigger than our small-town life. Everything started changing when Clara got a full scholarship to an elite college on the East Coast. I was 13 when she left, and I remember crying for days because I missed our late-night talks and Saturday morning pancake traditions. The sister who left for college never really came back. Each time she visited, she seemed more distant, polished and focused on appearances. During her sophomore year, she started hanging out with these super wealthy kids whose parents were on the board of directors for big companies. She came home for Christmas break with a different accent, designer clothes and a new attitude. She even started correcting my table manners at family dinner and told me my favorite mall was Char.oi. After graduation, Clara landed a job at a prestigious finance firm in the city. She bought expensive suits, rented a luxury apartment, and started turning down family gatherings because they weren't fancy enough. When she did show up, she'd spend the whole time on her phone or making subtle comments about how everything could be more upscale. Last Thanksgiving, she brought her wine glasses because ours were from Target. Now she's engaged to James, a 35 male, who comes from serious old money-like family name on university buildings, kind of money. They met at some charity gala where Clara was trying to network with wealthy clients. According to her social media, their life is all yacht parties, polo matches, and champagne brunches. The Clara I grew up with used to snort laugh at people who did those things. Last weekend was their engagement party at this ridiculously fancy country club. Clara had been stressing about it for months, sending me dozens of texts about what I should wear. I bought a nice blue cocktail dress that she approved after making me send multiple photos from different angles. She even made me practice which forks to use for each course over FaceTime. When I arrived at the party, everything seemed fine at first. The place was dripping with expensive flowers, there was a string quartet playing, and waiters were carrying around tiny food on silver trays. Clara hugged me briefly and then disappeared to greet more guests. It wasn't until dinner that things went sideways. I discovered Clara had seated me at a table hidden behind a massive flower arrangement, practically in the kitchen area where servers were coming and going. My table mates were all random plus ones and distant relatives who weren't part of the main social circle. I could barely see the rest of the party from my spot, and servers kept bumping into my chair. I noticed an empty seat at my parents' table and tried to move there, but Clara appeared out of nowhere and completely freaked out. She grabbed my arm and marched me back to my hidden table, whispering furiously about her perfect seating chart and how I was embarrassing her. I waited until she went to the bathroom and followed her to confront her. That's when she finally showed her true colors. She told me my cheap teacher lifestyle would make James's family uncomfortable and that I didn't understand the social dynamics of their world. She said she'd worked too hard crafting the perfect image to have me ruin it by talking about grading papers and school concerts. Here's where it gets messy. Our cousin Emma, 26, female, was also at my reject table and had been recording party moments for her Instagram stories. She followed us to the bathroom because she sensed drama coming. She caught the whole thing on video. Clara saying she couldn't have a teacher sister ruining her image with James's old money family and me leaving in tears. My brother Mark, 28, male, who owns a successful auto repair shop, is livid. He's always been protective of me and after seeing the video he called Clara a social climbing snake and blocked her number. He keeps bringing up how Clara missed his wedding 4 years ago because she claimed to be stuck at work, but then posted pictures from a yacht party that same weekend. The video has spread through our family group chat and everyone's taking sides. Some relatives are defending Clara, saying she worked hard to build her perfect life, and I should understand the pressure she's under. Clara has been sending me endless texts, alternating between angry accusations about ruining her big moment and tearful appeals about family loyalty. She claims I'm just jealous of her success and says I'm trying to sabotage her happiness because I'm stuck in our hometown teaching kids. The worst part is, the few times I've met James, he seemed genuinely nice and down to earth, despite his privileged background. He talked to me about my students and seemed interested in education. Now I feel like he's only seeing this fake version of Clara she's created for his world. Mom keeps saying I should have just sat where I was placed to keep the peace. But Dad's quietly furious, even though he won't say much. I found him looking at old family photos last night, ones from before Clara changed. There's this picture of us at the state fair, both of us with ice cream all over our faces, just laughing. I barely recognize that happy girl as my sister anymore. My brother wants me to send the bathroom video to James, saying he deserves to know who he's marrying. But that feels like crossing a line I can't come back from. I just want my real sister back, the one who used to help me with my homework and defend me from middle school bullies. Instead, I'm sitting here wondering if I'll even be invited to the wedding after this and whether I even want to go if I am. Asterisk asterisk. Update 1. Asterisk asterisk. It's been 2 weeks since the engagement party fiasco, and the situation has taken a wild turn I never saw coming. For those who asked in the comments, yes, I'm still teaching at Pine Grove Elementary, and no, I haven't responded to Clara's constant messages. But something happened last Thursday that changed everything. Remember how I mentioned being a 4th grade teacher? Well, our school recently got selected for a major STEM initiative funded by private donors. We've been working on an amazing robotics program, and my students were getting ready to show off their latest project. These little robots that help clean up trash in the local park. I was focused on helping my kids prepare for the presentation when our principal walked in with the donors. And there he was, James, my sister's fiancé, standing in my classroom doorway looking completely shocked. Turns out his company is the major donor behind our district's entire STEM program, and he was doing a tour of the schools that received funding. The look on his face when he recognized me was like he'd seen a ghost. I tried to stay professional and continue with my students' presentations. They were so excited to show off their work, and I didn't want my drama to ruin their moment. James watched the whole thing, but I could tell he was distracted. He kept looking between me and the teaching certificate on my wall with his confused expression. After the presentations, James asked to speak with me privately. That's when things got messy. He started asking questions about my teaching career, clearly confused. According to him, Clara had told everyone I worked at a small boutique downtown and was trying to figure out my path in life. She'd spun this whole story about me struggling to find direction after college and working retail while I figured things out. It got worse. James revealed that he'd been trying to include me in their social circle for months. He'd specifically asked Clara to invite me to their dinner parties and weekend gatherings, but she always came back with excuses. Sometimes I was working late at the store. Other times, I couldn't afford the right clothes for their events. He'd even offered to help me financially through Clara, but she told him I was too proud to accept charity. The engagement party seating disaster came up too. Clara had told James that I specifically requested to sit in the back because I had severe social anxiety and couldn't handle being in the spotlight. She painted this picture of herself as this caring sister protecting me from social situations that might trigger my anxiety. James looked sick. When I told him the truth about Clara hiding me away because she was ashamed of my profession, that's when James dropped the real bombshell. Education is his family's legacy. His grandmother was a teacher who started a foundation to support public education, and their family has been funding schools across the country for 3 generations. They have a whole scholarship program for teachers pursuing advanced degrees. All this time, Clara had been hiding my career because she thought it would embarrass her when it actually would have impressed his family. After James left, my brother's wife, Phoebe, called with even more revelations. She's been working as an event planner and sometimes helps with functions at James's country club. Clara has been telling different lies about our entire family to different people in their social circle. She told James's parents that our brother Mark was a successful international businessman currently overseeing operations in Europe. In reality, Mark owns a successful but very local auto repair shop. He's brilliant with cars and has built a great business, but he's not jetting off to Paris for business meetings like Clara claimed. The lies about our parents are even worse. Clara has been telling everyone they're retired country club members who spend winters at their Florida condo. She's completely erased their careers as teachers and the fact that they still live in the same modest 3-bedroom house where we grew up. She even photoshopped pictures of them at fancy resorts to post on her social media. The whole thing started falling apart last night. James's sister, Katie, found my public Instagram account and saw recent photos from our family barbecue, not the luxury lifestyle Clara had described. She sent the photos to James, who's now questioning everything Clara told him about her background and family values. Clara showed up at my apartment around midnight, completely hysterical. She begged me to back up her stories if James or his family asked any more questions. She even offered me money. A lot of money? To play along. I recorded the whole conversation on my phone because I know how Clara twists things. Later, when I refused to lie to her, she completely snapped. She'd tell the school board that I'd acted inappropriately with a student if I didn't help her maintain her lies. I have never been so disgusted with her in my life. I sent the recording to Mark for safekeeping, and he's furious. He thinks we should send it to James immediately, but I'm torn. Clara's behavior is horrible, but she's still my sister. Then again, she just to destroy my entire career to protect her web of lies. The threat was the last straw for our parents. Mom spent all morning crying, asking where she went wrong in raising Clara. Dad, who's been trying to stay neutral, finally snapped. He wants to reach out to James himself and tell him everything about our real family history, both the good and the bad. I've never seen him so angry and disappointed. Update 2. A month has passed since my last update, and everything finally exploded. Last weekend, James's family hosted a pre-wedding garden party at their estate. An invitation arrived at my apartment with a handwritten note from James's mother saying she was looking forward to properly meeting her future daughter-in-law's sister. Clara called me in a complete panic, begging me not to attend, but I decided to go. After everything that happened, I wanted to see this fantasy world she'd created for myself. The estate was like something out of a movie: manicured gardens, a massive fountain, and staff in uniform serving drinks. Clara intercepted me the moment I arrived, already looking stressed. She kept trying to steer me away from certain groups of guests, and I quickly figured out why. She'd told different lies to different social circles, and she was terrified they'd compare notes. To some people, we were old money who lost everything in bad investments, which explained our modest lifestyle. To others, we were European aristocrats who chose to live simply for philosophical reasons. One woman asked me about our family castle in Austria. Clara had shown her photoshopped pictures of some random European estate, claiming it was our ancestral home. James's grandmother, Margaret, sought me out specifically to discuss education. She's this incredibly sharp woman in her 80s who still serves on multiple education boards. Clara nearly had a meltdown when she saw us talking. When Margaret mentioned being excited about having another teacher join the family, Clara interrupted to say I was just substituting temporarily while figuring out my career. I corrected her immediately, showing Margaret photos of my student's robotics project on my phone. Things started unraveling when James's sister started asking about our childhood. Clara had told them we grew up on this massive family estate that was sold after some financial troubles. When I started telling stories about our actual childhood home, the treehouse Dad built us, Mom's vegetable garden, and the tire swing in the backyard, Clara knocked over an entire tray of champagne glasses trying to create a distraction. The real breaking point came when Phoebe, Clara's old college roommate, showed up. James's mother had invited her as a surprise, thinking Clara would be delighted to see her old friend. Phoebe started reminiscing about their bro college days, and how they used to split ramen packets and work at the campus coffee shop together. Clara tried to pretend she didn't know her, claiming Phoebe must be confusing her with someone else. Phoebe looked hot and confused, pulling out her phone to show everyone old photos from their college days. There was Clara in her barista uniform, Clara at their cheap apartment parties, Clara crying happy tears when she got her scholarship. The contrast between the real Clara in those photos and the fake socialite standing there in designer clothes was startling. James had been quietly observing everything, and his face grew colder with each new revelation. He finally pulled Clara aside for a private conversation on the terrace. I couldn't hear everything, but words like trust, lies, and deception carried across the garden. Clara came back crying, mascara running down her face, and immediately started screaming at me in front of everyone. She accused me of orchestrating the whole thing to ruin her life because I was jealous of her success. James's mother tried to calm the situation, but Clara was too far gone. She started ranting about how none of us understood the sacrifices she'd made to elevate herself from our embarrassing middle-class existence. She said she'd rather than go back to being normal and boring like the rest of us. Several of her work colleagues were there and looked shocked. The party dissolved into chaos after that. Clara locked herself in one of the bathrooms. James disappeared into his father's study, and the guests started leaving in awkward groups, whispering among themselves. James' mother hugged me before I left, apologizing for everything and saying she wished she'd known the truth about our family sooner. She'd grown up in a small town too, and her father had been a high school principal. Mark picked me up from the party. He took one look at my face and drove us straight to our favorite ice cream place from high school. We sat in his truck eating sundaes just like when we were kids, and Clara would ditch us to hang out with a popular crowd. He asked if I felt bad about everything falling apart. Honestly, I don't. The sister I loved disappeared years ago. This person who'd my career and deny her friend just to maintain her lies. That's not Clara anymore. Update 3. The wedding has been called off. James sent a formal email to all the guests explaining the cancellation, keeping it classy with a brief mention of irreconcilable differences. The expensive venue has been cancelled, the designer dress is back at the boutique, and Clara's perfect fairy tale has crumbled completely. The aftermath has been messy. Several of Clara's work colleagues were at the pre-wedding party and witnessed her meltdown. Word spread quickly through her office about her web of lies. She'd been fabricating stories there too, claiming to be on the boards of charities she'd never even volunteered for. Her firm put her on administrative leave while they investigated some concerns about her client reports. She's taking an extended break to deal with everything, which means she's hiding in her luxury apartment and having expensive wine delivered. Clara showed up at our parents' house yesterday, crying about how I destroyed her life. She was wearing sweatpants. I haven't seen her in anything but designer clothes for years. Mom just sat there calmly, asking her why she felt she needed to lie about her own family. Clara couldn't even answer. She just kept repeating that none of us understood the pressure she was under and how hard it was to maintain her position in that world. The most revealing part was finding Clara's old diaries in our childhood bedroom. Mom was cleaning out some closets, trying to keep busy, I guess, and found them hidden in an old shoebox. They went back to high school. Even then, Clara was plotting her escape from our normal life. There were lists of expensive brands she wanted to own, practice signatures with different wealthy-sounding last names, and pages of complaints about how embarrassing it was to be middle class. One entry from senior year talked about how she planned to reinvent herself in college and never look back. She wrote that she was going to erase us and create a better family story. I took photos of some diary pages before Mom put them away. Not to use against Clara, but to remind myself that this transformation didn't happen overnight. My sister spent years planning to erase us from her life. That helped me feel less guilty about what happened next. James sent me a private email 3 days ago. He thanked me for helping him see the truth before the wedding and apologized for any part he played in Clara's behavior. He's keeping the funding for our school's robotics program. He's increasing it. My students are thrilled, even though they don't know the whole story. He also mentioned that his grandmother wants to talk to me about a teaching fellowship their foundation offers. I haven't responded yet. Clara has been alternating between rage and bargaining. She showed up at my apartment this morning with a check, trying to buy my silence about some of her lies. When I refused, she did tell everyone about the time I got caught shoplifting lip gloss in 8th grade. I just laughed and closed the door. It's sad how she doesn't realize that normal people don't care about ancient middle school drama. Mom's pushing for family therapy, saying we can heal from this if we all try. But I'm done trying. I've spent years watching Clara systematically erase everything about our family that didn't fit her perfect narrative. She didn't just lie about us. She was ashamed of us. How do you rebuild a relationship with someone who spent years planning to pretend you don't exist? Some of our relatives think I'm being too harsh, that family should forgive family. But I'm not angry anymore. I'm just tired. The sister who used to share my secrets and defend me from bullies, who taught me how to braid hair and snuck me candy during boring family events, that Clara is gone. She died somewhere between college and her finance career. And this stranger, wearing designer clothes and spitting threats, isn't someone I need in my life. I'm focusing on my students, my real friends, and the family members who never needed me to be anything other than who I am. Clara can keep her fake perfect life. I'll keep my real one.